It doesn't take $1 million shop to build a fun little masterpiece. All you need is a pile of scrap exhaust pipe, a few basic tools, and the audacity to build something that makes the rest of the world stop and ask you, what the hell is that? Welcome to how we thought the future would look in 2001. So a few weeks ago I bought this little kid's bike and I had the Huffy left over from something a while back. And the wife and I, we were watching some movies, we watched Bicentennial Man, and I got an idea in my head. So yeah, essentially we were watching Bicentennial Man, and I also remembered that movie Artificial Intelligence, and just like how cool and silvery and blue everything was supposed to be, you know, in the future. And I was like, well, with bicycles, why don't I build something that kind of resembles that and try to use the most basic, primitive tools I can, which in this case was just, I don't even think I used a drill on this project. I used an angle grinder, my welder, and I think that was about it. And a lot of sanding by hand, which you'll see here later on in the video, because Bondo is a bit... So yeah, really without any kind of designs or drawings, I just kind of had an idea in my head and started chopping stuff up. Wooden block acquired. Okay, now the Sawzall blade's got a little bit more room to do its thing. Really all I'm after right now is just the American style bottom bracket and the seat post tube. Everything else is going to be cut off. Ta-da! All right, now that we've got our seat post tube and the American style bottom bracket, I'm going to go ahead and take a grinder and get rid of all this stuff, and that's what we're going to start with. So I'm thinking about using some of like that and some of that. Alright, so unfortunately I didn't have any mild steel of this 2 1/4 inch tubing, but I did find a mild steel and a slightly tighter radius 2 1/4 inch mandrel bent piece of exhaust tubing. It's all 065 wall, but I think that's about the shape we're going to be going for. This will be cut off, but I do want it just a few inches after the seat post, and I could add like a little dished cap to the end. I think that would look really good, but I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. All right, that's more like it. I had a kind of a little thought about making one longer than the other. I kind of like them both even, so there we go. Front wheel's going to be over here somewhere, back wheel's going to be over here somewhere. My ass is going to be somewhere in line with that. And the handlebars will be in this general area. So kind of a neat trick my buddy Bryant showed me years ago. If you guys are trying to butt together 2 tubes and they're the same size and you really need them straight, and you're kind of lazy, you don't feel like measuring, take a piece of C-channel or even angle iron. Now that's being held straight on. Put that on there. And you can butt the 2 together. If your cuts aren't straight, you can roll around this tube and see if the gap closes. And it's best if you put a couple of hose clamps along it, and that holds everything dead straight. Or at least as, as straight as this piece is. Okay, there we go. That's one. Alright, I think that's going to be the general shape of it. The fork is kind of where it's going to be. It's not as slack as I'm going to make it. I got to take some of this straight tubing here and make a head tube for it. I got to expand it a little bit by about 30 thousandths. So that's no problem there on each end. And I think we'll have plenty of pedal clearance going to the front tire and down to the ground. And then up next, I just got to build the chain stays and seat stays. And probably a pretty long stem, but I think that's going to be pretty neat. Alright, so to expand the tubing, this bearing cup just doesn't quite fit in there, but we're really close, about 20 thousandths off or so. So I found a socket here that has just about the same outside diameter as the bearing cup. I just put a little taper on the end, and all we have to do now is just kind of stick it right on top of there and give it a few good whacks. Make sure that you go in a little squarer than that. Oops. And Now, this bearing cup fits in there. Oh, hang on. Dang it! Well, the bearing cup fits in there now. And now we've got our 13-inch long head tube piece. Turned out really nice. And it's kind of cool because you can kind of see the little flare at the end for the bearing cup, so it looks very intentional. Alright, so I did some rough measuring. Looks like the cranks are going to be the right height off the ground. The next thing I'm going to do is cut a little channel out of the front of this U-bend and sink this tube in there about halfway. It's actually going to be right about there. And that'll eliminate the need for a really tall stem, because it'll be just, the top of the headset will be just about level with the seat post, it looks like. Let's get to cutting. So as you guys know, I never go into anything with a plan. I did do a stick figure doodle and had it run through Gemini, and here's what it looked like. Definitely a lot prettier than my stick figure doodle. Alright, now that we got that little channel cut out, actually the head tube's going to go right about there. And we're looking pretty good. It's going to be a little bit of a filler with some weld, but I think that'll look just fine. And some of you guys might have heard me mention just a couple minutes ago about how I'm going to make the head tube a little bit slack. Did I measure the head tube angle? No. Does that look right? Well, I guess so. Alright, now the fun part's going to be cutting holes in that stainless for the seat post tube to go through. I will have to cut off the little adjusting bolt mount right there so I can slide it through. But I've got 12 inches from the center of the crankcase to the what's going to be possibly the ground. And the pretty raked back seat post tube is going to give me an effective top tube length of like 21 inches, roughly, right around there. So I think that'll be alright. Alright, so in theory here, the crankcase is as low as it should be. That gets me 10.5 inches off the ground, apparently when it's all mocked up. Next, I'm taking the straight edge, and I'm just running it along the bearing race, and turning the seat post and bottom bracket until it looks nice and parallel with this. I might make a couple of measurements, I might not. Your eyeball, if well trained, can get pretty darn close. Hey, that's right where we're going to stick her. Oh, damn it! So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just redo that. Okay. I'm going to tack it down here. Okay, just take a little further away measurement and eyeball, and it looks like we're pretty good. And just to make sure that everything is pretty straight, I'm taking my straight edge and rotating it on the bottom bracket. See how we've got about 1/4 of an inch on that side? I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over to this side. And we should have just about 1/4 of an inch. Just like that. We know that that thing's pretty much straight. Alright, and the chainstays are just from like a little Kent 16-inch kids bike, but I could tack it on and take a good look at it and see if I like the design so far. And I think I am pretty happy with it. I think it's always kind of hard seeing stuff in the non-painted phase, but I think it'll look really, really cool. Anyways, we'll continue welding.
Yeah, go through that one, sure.
And alright, with the chain and seat stays in place, it tested out to be really plenty strong. I had the forks and the dropouts on the ground, and I was just bouncing on the bottom bracket, and it didn't wink a bit at all. So I think it's a lot stronger than I thought it would be, and I'll carry on. And this is pretty much the worst part of any automotive project, so I figured why not suffer and do this with bicycles as well. This is body filler, Bondo. It is terrible to work with. Apparently it smells really bad. I don't have a sense of smell, so I can't tell you on that one myself. But I decided to pretty much cover every weld with a really thick glob of it. That way I could sand it all out and have these nice radiuses pretty much at every edge. Yeah, that was it. I'm glad I did it, but it super sucked to do. If anyone's ever worked with Bondo, let me know in the comments on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you wish it never existed? Anyways, I'm just sanding it down. I got some emery cloth. I got some 50 grit, 100 grit, and 150. And using your fingers, that just kind of gives you all the contours and radiuses you need to sand, mix, and keep on going that way. So being that this is just a prototype, and I'll probably build another one in the future, I didn't get too carried away with the Bondo work. I could have used a little bit of spot putty, but it looks good enough. Alright, so this is going to be the first of many coats of primer kind of around all the Bondo stuff. Anyways, I did tape up this area, and I just brushed it with 400 grit sandpaper. And I'm also using those little sticker letters to put the bike's name in the stainless, and I'm going to paint kind of over that. The bike, I think, will be like a dull aluminum kind of color, but I think it'll be cool having a pop of stainless, the actual raw metal from underneath it. So I'm going to start stacking some primer on all the Bondo spots. Those are going to need some sanding, and then we'll work our way to paint. And as always, I'm using the Ace spray paint. Pretty good stuff. All right, here we go. Alright, so you guys may see in the video that I'm not primering all the way up to the tape here or that. Being that I'm going to be painting this thing like a lighter silver color, and that stuff's stainless and pretty well scratched up, I didn't want to put primer on top because then it'll build up a really thick layer so that when the paint goes on and you finally peel off the stickers and get ready to clear coat it, you have a really thick edge because this primer builds up pretty thick. So I'm just kind of fogging the primer down and stopping pretty much before it gets to the stickers and tape. You know, it's okay if a little bit gets on there. I just don't want to build up a thick layer. All right, anyways, let's go for another coat of primer. All right, now we're just going to use a dull aluminum. I think this one's just called silver metallic, and then we'll clear coat it afterwards. Now this paint's pretty thin, so I'm putting it on really light. Oh, that looks so good, guys. Look at that. I am super glad this is not peeling up the silver paint, so that's good. I wound up not clear coating this thing. Clear coat sometimes on silver colors can make them like go to a dark gray. Anyways, everyone always skips the build montages, so here's a little 30-second clip of the final product. And now it's just time to go for a ride. Now the gear inches I'm not super happy with. I am using a 46 tooth in the front. The coaster brake in the back was a 18 tooth. I wound up grinding that down and putting on a 14 tooth. But I think it still could be improved. I'm sitting at, I think, 46 gear inches. But the next thing to do is go for a ride, give it a shakedown, and see how she feels. And it definitely inspired some confidence. The bike rides super good. As you can see here, I'm kind of leaned forward, so it's not a wheelie machine like I kind of anticipated it to be. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. I think it turned out really good. I think I nailed the mark of trying to get that idealistic, futuristic look from the early 2000s. It was just fun as heck to build, so this is just the prototype. I might be building a better one in the future. Hopefully one with maybe multiple gears if I can figure all that out with a coaster brake. Not quite sure how that'll work. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys watching this kind of lengthy video. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. And let me know if you guys have any ideas or theme builds for bicycles. I always check the comments, read them, and I'll be happy to oblige. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. That way I don't got to work on cars for the rest of my life. Hopefully I'll make something of this YouTube and keep you guys entertained. I'll see you on the next one.